Mm-hmm.
This song is dedicated to my parents, Billy and Vicky. I call it The Struggle. Mom and Dad, I love you both so much. When I think about how hard it must have been for you guys to make the decisions you did so early into your own lives, I just feel blessed. Even the strong struggle and strive to maintain, hibernate pain as I try to make gains. Even when roadblocks are dividing both lanes, my mind just won't blame it, design my own frame. Even the strong struggle and strive to maintain, hibernate pain as I try to make gains. Even when roadblocks are dividing both lanes, my mind just won't blame it, design my own frame. They were two young lovebirds, off in different colleges. The bond grew stronger despite increased mileages. Only 3 months passed before time wreaked havoc. How could something so beautiful become so tragic? Both dropped out, but not because of their grades. They had a son on the way. It was time to get paid. Formula costs money, and diapers ain't free. So the boy signed up to be all he could be. They were young and in love, so they kept making bundles of joy, but not loot bank accounts of the humble. Yeah. Tough decisions, constant sacrifices. Too broke, too young, this can't be what life is. Well, most of their friends had fun on weekends. They were home with 3 kids, struggling to meet ends. Went from high school sweethearts hugged up at the prom to my dad asking, wanna live with me or your mom? Even the strong struggle and strive to maintain, hibernate pain as I try to make gains. Even when roadblocks are dividing both lanes, my mind just won't blame it, design my own frame. Even the strong struggle and strive to maintain, hibernate pain as I try to make gains. Even when roadblocks are dividing both lanes, my mind just won't blame it, design my own frame. Got my first job when most kids were riding bikes. Partially why I got a late start riding mics. Parents did their best they could to get us out the hood. You already know their beginning wasn't good, dude. When I look back, I'm nothing but proud, cause my mom's got a master's and my dad's still around. He put in mad work, raising 3 bad boys, arguing, bickering, and making mad noise. And though the first son did some time for his sins, all 3 went to college and are honorable men. Cause my mama and him were the perfect tag team. Our behavior got sick, they had a vaccine. That ride got used, it wasn't spoiling nothing. Every time we showed out, they were uncoiling something. Their discipline produced a leader of men, future doctor and a man of the pen. Even the strong struggle and strive to maintain, hibernate pain as I try to make gains. Even when roadblocks are dividing both lanes, my mind just won't blame it, design my own frame. Even the strong struggle and strive to maintain, hibernate pain as I try to make gains. Even when roadblocks are dividing both lanes, my mind just won't blame it, design my own frame. How many of y'all rode the bus and in the train? Got off and rode your bike 2 miles in the rain, in traffic for the chance to rock 16 bars, cause you didn't want the fact that you had no car, or that your writing hands for the surgery scars keep you from becoming the new age Nas. It's hard getting sold without being bought. It's the same selling sacks without being caught. So the thugs say, but the drug play ain't my runway. Maybe one day I can afford a lazy Sunday. I brag about my hustles, but they're born from need. My life is no fairy tale torn from dreams, but my parents' your beginnings and late demise will never be why I don't take the prize. If I have to put in work while you're taking 5, when it's all said and done, I'll be skating skies. Even the strong struggle and strive to maintain, hibernate pain as I try to make gains. Even when roadblocks are dividing both lanes, my mind just won't blame it, design my own frame. Even the strong struggle and strive to maintain, hibernate pain as I try to make gains. Even when roadblocks are dividing both lanes, my mind just won't blame it, design my own frame. Even the strong struggle and strive to maintain, hibernate pain as I try to make gains. Even when roadblocks are dividing both lanes, my mind just won't blame it, design my own frame. Even the strong struggle and strive to maintain, hibernate pain as I try to make gains. Even when roadblocks are dividing both lanes, my mind just won't blame it, design my own frame. Divorce or not, every good quality I have is directly attributed to the joint effort you guys made to raise me. Even the strong struggle and strive to maintain, my intelligence, my focus, I can never thank you enough. I owe not only my life, the quality of it to you. I love you.
Good evening, everybody. It's Brian Powers, and we're back for another week of New Jersey Revolution Radio Live. Hashtag is NJRR. You can be found at www.njrevolutionradio.com. Kind of been on and off over the last couple weeks as we enjoy some summer vacation time. And I just did some myself. One thing that's cool about having an independent media network is you can take off here and there when you want, and it's not a big deal. I thank everybody for tuning in tonight as we're going to have a great show. I'm really excited because back from, it's been a while. It's been too long since we've had Madelyn Hoffman on New Jersey Revolution Radio Live, but she's just such a busy person, and she does so much, like so many activists that are part of our network. So I'm really excited to have her back for the segment, the main segment, where we're going to talk about her Senate run, plus all the activism she's involved in, and so many things. She's not just a candidate for Senate. She's a very long time activist on a lot of causes. So it's always exciting to talk to her. Want to wish well our comrade Darryl Lamont Jenkins, who some of you to follow him on Facebook may know. He's in the hospital, had some work done. He's feeling better. I know he went home and he's resting up good. So I'm sure once he's recovered and completely on the mend, he'll return to co-host with us. But he's going to take a little time off. We got a pinch hitter in here, and it's definitely not a disappointment, to have this comrade joining us, Christian Perez, of course, from Modernity and Absurdity podcast. Right, at Perez Podcast on Twitter and as such. How you doing, brother?
Doing great, Brian. Thanks for having me. Great to be here.
Hey, thanks for coming in on a little bit of short notice, but it's good to have you here, and of course with some topics that cue right in on your expertise. You're an expert on a lot of different things, so I know we're going to have some good conversation tonight about what's going on around the state and around the world, and I guess we got to touch a little bit on the COVID thing. The news reports are varying state to state, but all troublesome. We're over 165,000 deaths.
Yep.
The most recent spike has been a 90% spike in children.
I saw that.
As we are all planning and going back to school. Schools are opening around the country. Kids are not wearing masks. They didn't require them in Georgia, and now 900 children are in quarantine.
Yeah.
I don't know that we've thought this all the way through, but I don't know that I think we're just.
Yeah, I don't think we have either. But remember, from the beginning, it was children couldn't catch the virus. If you were healthy, you couldn't catch the virus. The virus was only affecting the elderly. It was only affecting the people who had already had pre-existing problems. Again, I say it every time I'm on the program. It was a lack of misinformation. It was a lack of leadership. And now we're paying the price. Something like 380,000 children have recorded cases of COVID, 380,000. And it's done nothing but grow. And we're looking at 165,000 dead nationwide. It doesn't look like it's anything that's going to go away, despite what the president wants. He's saying he said multiple times that it'll just disappear. That's not the case. It's not going to happen. It's here to stay, and we've never confronted it fully as a society.
We've had a number of experts on and a number of opinions here on New Jersey Revolution Radio, and of course Lori Endicott Thomas. And if you get a chance, to know more measles, her book, it's on commieson.com. You can check out some expertise that we've had on the show and look back on the website and all that. But I can speak to it as a parent, man. Everybody knows I got a lot of kids. I got 5 kids, man, and the oldest is only 20. So I've seen early childhood development, and I know how important it is to go to school. My wife and I, and my family and I have had, and my children and I have had some very serious discussions about, what school means to them and the importance of it in their life. And it is important. My kids participate in band and art programs, and they need that social interaction. And, while I never will say that our public education system as is that fostering the correct environment at times, we've had a lot of, school to prison pipeline issues. And
Yeah,
stuff like that.
it's not perfect. It's not
That's
perfect.
but there's that aspect. Their friends are there, man.
Yeah.
Like their clubs are there.
Absolutely.
So it's real. The argument about and so the discussion that we've had is, how do we do homeschooling, right? How do we keep them out of this environment that's clearly not safe, or we don't trust that will be safe? And I don't want to speak because I haven't dug into my hometown's plans. I know there's homeschooling options, and that's leaning. I mean, looking at what's going on around the country, it's only the economics driving people to send their children back to school.
Yeah.
Because we're not thinking of alternatives like what, Melissa Tomlinson from the Badass Teachers Association proposed with, freedom schools and schools in parks and places, smaller community representation of schooling and rethinking education as a whole, taking this revolutionary opportunity.
You're going to see wealthier districts.
How can we jam them back into the same fucked up system?
Well, you're going to see wealthier districts doing that. They're already putting together plans to send their children to like private school and to have their own pods. But like ultimately, it's going to be low income kids, the working class kids. I was just not long before I got on with you, Brian. I saw on the news that 400 teachers in Elizabeth public schools. I mean, and Elizabeth is a massive school district. 400 teachers applied for medical exemptions. I mean, I'm from Long Branch, so the idea of 400 teachers asking for an exemption is almost unfathomable to me. But in a district like that, as large as it is, I mean, they're still going to take a hit. People are unsure. People are scared. And if a teacher gets sick, they can't visit their relatives. If they have a multi-generational home with elderly relatives or immunocompromised relatives, or if they have to deliver food to relatives, they can't do that. And if grandma gets sick because mommy's a teacher, who gets held accountable there? And you have schools that want to push reopening. It seems like everyone gets their finger in the pot, but teachers, right? And schools want to follow this corporate model of just get people back to work, just push them back in. And we treat teachers like cogs in a wheel, unfortunately. And as I say, we just don't respect teachers.
Justin, my brother, thank you for the comment there. Justin is with the Young Greens out of South Jersey.
Yeah, complete remote learning.
Yeah, great conversation the other day, man. So he says, Murphy is out there saying, well, localities and schools, and I guess, they're leaving it up to superintendents and school boards or whatever. Like, do what you want.
Yeah.
No, I think we can do better than, because, again, it goes right back to the economics of it. The more money you have, the safer you can be.
Absolutely.
And it shouldn't be a choice that parents are making, but it's a choice that our economics it proves that our economics is driving this solely.
Yeah. I mean, money went to big businesses. Money went to, what was it? Ruth Chris's Steakhouse. Money goes to all these already wealthy institutions, all these wealthy organizations, all these wealthy businesses. And then, the John Q. Public, the everyday person, and even small business owners like the guys at that gym, right? They got left out to dry. The problem is with the guys at the gym was, rather than talk to their politicians, rather than stir up support to hold people in power accountable, they said, no, we're just going to put the public at risk and try to open. It was rather than look out and look up, they look down. It was so incredibly frustrating with that gym. And now they just lost their license.
Yeah, that's funny as hell. So for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, there's a place called the it's out. I mean, I don't like to plug places too much, but what the hell? So you can Google it and do your research. The Attilis gym in somewhere in New Jersey, Belmar, right? New Jersey.
Yeah.
Has been
Belmar, Monmouth County, south Belmar with the W.
We got a couple of, because we have 7 trillion towns in New Jersey. We can't come up with new names, so we just spelled them a little differently here and there.
Ocean Township, Ocean Port, Ocean County, Ocean City.
We have 586 or 85 municipalities in the state of New Jersey. Yeah. Many donut hole towns and all kinds of nonsense. You just run out of names. You run out of names at a certain point. But yeah, so this gym They keep opening. They bash down doors. They froze them out of all kinds of. They started finding them. They got arrested a couple of times,
Yeah.
and they started finding them. This guy, I don't know, Ian Smith.
Yeah,
who I believe killed somebody in a drunk driving accident, and is just a scumbag, and who is just as ugly as every other white supremacist I've ever seen. He seems to attract, just by coincidence, like neo-Nazis and shit like that to his rallies.
Yeah. Remember, Antifa's the fascists, right? The real fascists are the anti-fascists, yet they always seem to draw the fascists. That's what always kills me.
Why did they have Neanderthal eyebrows? Look at this guy, and then the dude we doxed, that asshole from New Brunswick. Why do all these white supremacists look like Neanderthals? I mean, they actively say that like they're some kind of superior, but I mean, they do a good job. You can even see. Look at this.
I don't know if this guy claims to be a white supremacist.
You could tell he spent a lot of time on them. They're very bushy and very trimmed, but they're so protruded because you can't.
It's a serious beard, but I mean, hey, whatever. To each his own. To each his own. I had a beard back in the day. Wasn't so like that.
It can't be covered up. And the more you groom your eyebrows when you're a Neanderthal, the more you look like a Neanderthal. It just, you can't. It doesn't work.
No, what cracks me up is they just lost their license, and their lawyer came out, and one of their lawyers basically said that this is something out of Orwell, something out of 1984, a dictatorship, totalitarian, where there's no freedom. In what dictatorship did they let you go on national TV and cry about how you're being oppressed? In what dictatorship did they let you collect money, as I'm hearing, from all these different places in the country? It's inconvenience being masqueraded about as oppression. Like this is not oppression, right? You have a commitment in a democracy. You have a commitment in a modern society to other people. It's not just about keeping yourself safe. We get it, dude. We think you're tough. We think you're strong. If you get COVID, you could shrug it off. That's not the point. The point is we're also beholden to one another. And if I wear a mask, it's not just about me being sick. It's about me not infecting anyone else if I am sick. And I know that, and you know it, and we can say it until we're blue in the face. But unfortunately, these people, they just don't seem to get that. It's that simple.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and it's unfortunate. It's a black eye on our state, man. I mean, it's just it is getting national attention, like you said. This political backing. The problem is this guy's going to be sticking around. I think the more it's like you're feeding a narcissist is what you're kind of doing. I don't know. You don't want to diagnose the guy, but clearly he likes attention.
Yeah.
I'm a guy that likes attention too. So that in and of itself ain't a bad thing, but he's willing to do damage, and it's all, like you said, this I'm an oppressed dude, well, stick around with some other oppressed people and maybe hang out with them and learn what it is the fuck you're talking about.
Like,
I see hanging out with white privileged Nazis and shit. I don't think you're really representing your community too well as an oppressed person.
Yeah, I mean, if the town council shut you down, guy. Just give it a rest. Run for town council next year. Run for Congress. Run for state senate. Like that. That's the next move. But it's just, as of right now, they're just infecting people. And then when Trump is coming out, I don't know what he's doing like this week, but as of a week or two ago, he was wearing a mask, talking about wearing a mask. So I mean, he changes with the temperature, but I mean, even the right-wing position on that now is unclear. Like Trump is still unclear on masks. It's okay for this guy to wear a mask. It's okay to shut down, but unfortunately, we got to deal with him infecting everyone.
We're sending the message, back to the earlier conversation. We're sending the message right through our children, not to take all the proper precautions. These schools are making it an option to wear a mask, and then they're in the hallways rubbing on each other. They might as well be licking the walls and rolling around on it.
I was watching a video today. How does a kindergarten teacher not tie her student's shoelace? How does a kindergarten teacher not comfort?
I know teachers that won't tie shoelaces. I do.
No, but I'm just saying, like these teachers that won't get close to students, and
right. I understand what
a large part of early childhood education is that close contact with teachers.
It is. It's important. I know teachers that won't tie shoelaces. Do you know why?
Why is
not
that?
To be mean. They love the kids, and because they would spend 20 minutes of class tying shoelaces.
Well, that makes sense.
So
I remember one day in kindergarten, my mom said,
You send them with Velcro shit because I
had the Velcro shoes. Those were cool in the 80s. When I was in kindergarten in 88, 89, Velcro was cool. Hey, I had like superheroes on. I think I had Thundercats on my shoes. I was cool, dude. Like I didn't Velcro Thundercat shoes.
Can I tell you something that I adopted that school around my second or third kid? I adopted that teacher policy of if you don't know how to tie shoes in my home, and my kids wore Velcro until they learned how to tie shoes.
There you go. My mom sat me down and made me drill it for 20 minutes.
I highly recommend. Yeah, I highly recommend it. It just makes it easy. As you get 5 kids, man, you make everything easy. Yeah. I don't even like feed. I don't really cook a lot. I just get food, throw it on the table, and just like allow them to, it's like a trough kind of thing. Yeah. No need to refrigerate food in my house. It doesn't last that long.
Yeah.
All right. So we are so we have some local embarrassment going on. And there's some national embarrassments going on that we can talk about as well, right?
Yeah.
At the end of most of these shows, or all these shows, I do forget every once in a while, my tagline is that police can quit their jobs. One of the reasons police will not quit their jobs is they're paid well and rewarded by society for doing dumb shit.
Yeah. I mean, I'm going to assume that you're talking about the Democratic vice presidential pick, Kamala Harris. Yes.
I would.
You're smart man. Anything about Kamala Harris, I want to preface it by saying this. Like, I get the symbolism. I get it. Right.
Yes. I want
you're a little girl. If you're a little girl and you see Kamala Harris and you are inspired by Kamala Harris, go for it. Reach for the stars, follow your dreams, be everything you want to be, because we live in a society that shames women, that tries to silence women, and strong women are often held back. And Kamala Harris is going to face a lot of unfair, misogynistic, and racist criticism, and that is not what New Jersey Revolution Radio is about. And that's certainly not what I'm about, right? If you're a little girl and you're inspired by Kamala Harris, be everything that you can be. Please do that. That being said, if you want to be somebody, don't do that at the expense of other people. Don't step on other people. Don't use other people, and keep a critical social justice lens as you move forward in life. That's what I have to say. The reward you can get from helping other people will always outweigh whatever riches that the wealthy and powerful can shower upon you. That being said, Kamala Harris is a cop. Kamala Harris made her career upholding the very system that has locked up so many people that look just like her. This is a woman that laughed about putting parents behind bars when their students were truant. This is a woman who, and I had actually forgotten this. This is a woman who did not want to release prisoners in California because California would have suffered from a lack of labor. These are inmates that were making $2 an hour to fight wildfires in California. And the Supreme Court said that California had to reduce their prison population. She fought it because she said it would save money in the fight against wildfires. She kept men and women in prison to use them as a cheap labor force. And that to me is absolutely unconscionable. And I want people to remember that when we criticize Kamala Harris, we're not talking about ancient history. Like, Joe Biden has the benefit of living in the black and white times, right? And he has a lot of modern problems. But in terms of Kamala Harris, we're talking the past 10 years. We're only talking I believe she became Attorney General in California in 2011. So we're not talking. It was like Chris is saying, Biden could have picked a true progressive like Nina Turner. I think Nina Turner is great. I think she's eloquent. I would vote for Nina Turner to be president, but Nina Turner is not going to get the support of the Democratic Party, right? Kamala. I'm sorry. Kamala Harris is as the vice presidential nod is not anything for the left. Right. This is specifically for the center. This is the Democrats returning to the same policy that they have had for the past 40 years. This is not the politics of change. This is not the politics of revolution. This is the politics of pearl clutching. This is a campaign of low expectations, unfortunately. Kamala Harris made her career strengthening a criminal justice system that targets and profits off of imprisoning Black people and brown people. And she's what's the word? She's arrogant about it. There was a talk she gave, I believe, in 2013, where she scoffed at the idea of building schools instead of prisons. And if you ask me, that's totally that's absolutely it's unacceptable. I mean, there's people saying she can evolve. You can push her. Look, if you didn't push Joe Biden to choose someone more progressive than Kamala Harris, you're not going to push them to do anything while they're in power. These are the people who said, you know, Barack Obama's second term, things are going to be different because he doesn't have to worry about re-election. Well, I'm still waiting on Obama's second term. And Kamala Harris does not have an iota of the charisma and the inspirational ability that Barack Obama had. She's not even in his league. And when
she's a good speaker.
I think she is a good speaker, but when it comes to inspiring people, she's not on that level. And she's educated, but she's not like Barack Obama's career. He built his career. He went to law school, became an organizer, and specifically avoided the criminal justice system because he knew that it would come back to bite him later. Like a bull.
Goldman Sachs to run his treasury.
I'm sorry?
Then he hired Goldman Sachs to run his
treasury.
Well,
yeah, I'm not going to defend Barack Obama. I mean, look, what cracks me up is, and I already put it up on Facebook on one of my other pages, is they're already calling Kamala Harris a communist. They're already calling Joe Biden a
comrade Kamala. I got a new one.
Kamala.
Get that hashtag trending, baby. Woo!
Kamala. It doesn't matter what you do. They're going to call you a communist regardless. It cracks me up. I mean, the woman made her career upholding the status quo. What indicator does anyone have that she's going to change or be progressive? And I say this about Barack Obama. Barack Obama is not going to change the system that allowed him to become president. Kamala Harris is not going to change the system that allowed her to become the Democratic vice presidential pick. You know, and this is even if if they could beat Trump, which I'm not so certain they could even beat Trump, because when you looked at their poll numbers when the primary first started, they weren't at the lead. Right? Kamala Harris and Joe Biden were not at the lead. It took everyone else dropping out of the primaries for Biden to get the support that he got.
It's so it's astounding to me still.
Yeah.
You know, and I didn't campaign. I campaigned for Bernie the first time. I joined the Green Party. I've been committed to that party ever since. And it's just, and I've been begging people, you know, with varying levels of success and just not enough. I don't think that overall the Green Party is built up enough. And we've been trying. I mean, there's been a lot of great activism, and we're going to talk to Madelyn, who's just going to give you examples of fantastic amounts of work.
I'm excited.
The general public support still goes into the Democratic Party, and attention and media and resources and money is all there. So, and twice now, you know, since Occupy, You've had a chance at Bernie Sanders, who's at least I could give Bernie credit for being progressive and having some socialist values. I don't, you know, but certainly is to me just, you know, another a liberal still who works within the system. He's a social
democrat in the European style. He may be a socialist in his heart, but his policies aren't socialist. They're social democratic. If you want to split hairs and you know.
Well, yeah. So anyway, you know, but here we are, you know, and it's what, 12 years after Occupy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, we've had a lot of social movements where amidst Black Lives Matter having its peak, just a year ago, it was a terrorist organization being investigated by the FBI. And now it's a popular social movement. And yet, you know, we're still looking at a political system that's so committed to these establishment figures that represent the police, that represent corporate America, that represent, you know, what has been a part of the economic problems that led us to this point in recent history. Yeah. And I love people that will go back in time and start to talk about how our slave-built roots fostered this environment over time. But we have living beings here today that created mass incarceration, created these immigration policies, created these...
Joe Biden.
He's Joe Biden. These credit.
Kamala Harris is the defender of the system that Joe Biden created.
The foreclosure crisis. So let it bottom out. Let everybody get foreclosed on. What's the big fucking deal? We'll get back some money and fuck all these people.
Harris
people. These are the same fucking people. How do we do this? How do we want
Kamala Harris, interestingly, as 35,000 homes were being foreclosed upon by actually Steve Mnuchin's bank, who's the current Treasury Secretary, but Steve Mnuchin's bank. What was the name? I had it here. It was One West Bank. They foreclosed on 35,000 homes in California. And when Kamala Harris's people, her own deputies, were saying, "Look, he's not doing it legally. We can go after him," she decided not to. She let him foreclose on 35,000 homes and destroyed 35,000 families. I don't know how she's supposed to evolve from all that destruction. They talk about evolution. I don't know how she's going to evolve from that.
When my blood pressure starts to rise, I know it's starting to go into a commercial break. I can play a little music in the background, and it brings my blood pressure down, and I can talk about some positive stuff. So
there you go.
I don't like to talk about the Democratic Party too long anyway. It's always going to raise my stress levels, man. Because it's just a mess, and it always will be. And I do hope that our coming guest will show us that we've got some better candidates out there that are working outside the system. So we'll get to Madelyn Hoffman in a minute. But first, we're going to talk about the August Agency. The August Agency, you've heard me talk about them before. They do QuickBooks accounting and a whole bunch of other stuff. Charlie, of course, is a comrade that works with independents, artists. He does our books here at New Jersey Revolution Radio. I know Christian, who helps us with our grant writing and stuff. Christian's not just, here on there and a beautiful face and voice for our network, but he also does a lot of work behind the scenes. And so he knows that, you can call up Charlie and say, how much money is here? And Charlie says, none. And then, you keep filling out your forms. Call up Charlie, 201-895-7227, or you can visit him on the internet at www.theaugustagency.biz, B-I-Z. Again, that's 201-895-7227, or www.theaugustagency.biz. And he'll help you out, man. Just, ask him some questions. And if you're involved in an art project, or if you're an independent small business person, or you're trying to put together a little media company and you need some help, give him a buzz. He'll help you out. Make sure you let him know that you found out about us on New Jersey Revolution Radio. Before we bring in our next guest, just lower this groovy music here. Our commercial music. Our commercial music has been a source of much debate here on New Jersey Revolution Radio Live, but I still love it, and I'm gonna keep it. And honestly, I don't care if nobody else likes it. It's my show. Today in, let's see here. I can't get my volume to go up.
Placement and death camps.
Today at an ICE concentration camp, we had our comrade Madelyn Hoffman had a chance to speak, and if you're watching on the internet, you can see it as I cue it up really quickly. And if you're on the podcast, you can listen to what she had to say here. And let's see if I can get
Jersey.
There she is.
And I want to say, while he's there talking to the people, I'm here acting and supporting the abolition of ICE. No half measures, no ambiguous statements, but we have to abolish ICE, shut down the detention centers, and release all of the people who are incarcerated inside. And in this case, the people who are incarcerated inside the ICE detention centers have been guilty of nothing except trying to cross the border and being broken, and their families broken apart, some being put in ICE detention centers. But as we've said now 100 times, crossing the border should not be a life sentence. It's not, worthy of an execution. And as long as these people are detained within the walls of detention centers, they cannot, as we just said, they cannot physically distance. They may have to purchase bars of soap. In fact, we had to push the administration to count the numbers of Hispanics who had contracted the coronavirus. They didn't start out doing that, but our pressure did a little bit. but not nearly enough. What we need to do now is shut down ICE. We need to hear Governor Murphy address it. I don't think he's ever addressed it from the podium, even though the questions have been out there. And I'm honored to be part of this dual option today in New Jersey and in New York. And as Whit said, we're coming to Governor Murphy because everybody else is passing the buck.
All right, thank you very much. Look, you gotta get clapped for that. It's just good because there's definitely not enough audience for the work out there being done. I know there's still limited people at rallies, as there should be. Everybody should be home and being safe and socially distancing, using every precaution.
Yes.
But great talk there, Madelyn, Hoffman. How are you tonight?
Oh, I'm okay. I don't usually watch myself in action, so but I guess I said a couple of really important things. And I've been following the show now for the last 20 minutes or half an hour, and you've all made some really important points tonight as well. So I'm just very glad to be here to talk further about whatever topics come up.
Thank you very much, and thanks for you commenting on the stream. If you're watching live, please throw out some questions or comments. We may not get to all of them, but certainly we appreciate them and people can read them. But there's support coming in already on some of the on some of our streams, so thanks a lot. Let's start talking a little bit now. You're known for your foreign policy, and I know Christian is the man to talk about that with you, certainly, and I'll be enjoying that part of the conversation more than I'll be asking questions. But I do. Let's start right here in my home state in New Jersey. You've been getting around. I don't think you've really ever stopped campaigning. You've had ups and downs. You've been with all these different clauses. But since you moved on from your 18 years at New Jersey Peace Action as the director there, you've never given up on a cause, as far as I know. I mean, you've only seemed to take on more. Tell me about the last couple of years and like your interactions with all these different activists around the state of New Jersey.
Well, thank you for that question. And yes, I mean, being an activist for almost 40 years, first on environmental issues from, let's say, 1980 to the year 2000, and then peace issues, the year 2000 until now. You never get that's in your blood. Once it's in your blood, it stays in your blood. And it's really the only place where change happens, the work that grassroots groups do. But there are all different kinds of grassroots groups. There are those that have a more middle of the road focus, and those who are, really going at the root and the cause of the problem. And so ever since I ran against Senator Menendez in 2018, and I left my previous place of work, I've been trying to get at the root of the problem, going with those folks who are attacking the roots of the problem. And so, being a Green Party candidate allows me to do that. I don't have to say, well, the Democrats in the Congress are only going to go so far on this issue, so that's as far as we're going to go in terms of what we're asking them. I don't have to do that. I don't have to measure myself or gauge what I'm going to do based on what the Democrats are willing to do. And thank goodness, because you've been talking about that the last 5 minutes or so. We are really limited in terms of where the Democrats are at this particular moment in time. And I have to say that the activists that I work with or that I talk to all the time want so much more than what the Democratic Party or the Republican Party are offering. And I also have to say that I'm extremely frustrated with those who say that because the fellow in the White House right now is so dangerous that they're willing to give up. Now, if it's one or two items in what you want in life or what you want in the country, if it's one or two items that you sacrifice, that's one thing. But when we see a candidate like Joe Biden and we can knock it off, we could say, Black Lives Matter? Nope. Police? Nope. He wants more funding, not less. Medicare for all, improved and expanded Medicare for all? Nope. We just keep going down the list. How can people, I get really frustrated when good people I know who've been working really hard for certain issues just say, sorry, that's as far as we can go. I know you represent what I think, but I'm not going to vote for you because it's more important for us to get this man out of office. Somewhere along the way, as a country, we've lost our ability to continue to pursue what we believe in and to fight for what we believe in and to go against the big money, to continue to go against the big money, to think outside of the Democratic and Republican box. I'm just so glad that I'm an independent candidate, a Green Party candidate, and I don't have to be bound by the rules or the policies of either of these political parties. And last night I was privileged to hear Ralph Nader again. He was on. I ran with him in 1996. I was his vice presidential running mate here in New Jersey in 1996. Apparently, he's 86 or 87 years old now. And I listened to him last night, and it was like he was standing here in 1996. He's still sharp. He still goes right to it. He doesn't mince any words. And that's what, we need to do that. We need to figure out what's standing in the way. Yeah. As you guys were saying before, how are we going to move Joe Biden or Kamala Harris to the left?
Yeah, there's no movement.
No, I've been hearing that.
I think Christian is a good guy because you got some poli-sci experience, right?
I got a little
poli-sci in it. So he's got. I mean, what are the conditions? We could sit here all day, I think, and talk about why we're trapped in a two-party system. What do you think's like the top? Like, what are the top factors right now that just we can't seem to break apart this black and white, good and evil thinking in our?
I mean, look, they control the media. There's just the history of the two-party system. There's the fact that if you're a third party, there's a number of hoops you got to jump through to get on. If you're a green, you're not automatically on the ballot. You have to get signatures. If you look at something like the presidential debate is jointly owned by the Democrats and the Republicans. So they have zero interest at all of letting anyone else in on the debate. I mean, they are emboldened by the narrative. And then on top of that, just by the very nature of the two-party system, unfortunately, third parties end up getting swallowed up, or they get or they get shoved to the margins. It's the sad two-party system.
If everybody I know who said, "Sorry, I really support your policies, Madelyn. I think they're wonderful, but you can't win, so I have to go with candidate X instead." If all those people would vote for Greens.
Yeah.
And if we had ranked choice voting where they could say, the Green Party candidate is my first choice and then whomever else is my second. If we had started doing that in 1996, think about where we could be right now. Nader said, if you're voting for the lesser of two evils, you're still voting for evil. And they become lesser and lesser. And when we think of 1996, the candidates who are running then, and 20 years later in 2016, Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump. I mean, they were the two least popular candidates ever.
It's the politics of low expectations.
And they did the same thing. They did the same thing again, and it worked. That's the thing. Like, it worked. And everybody's like on the left is sitting here going like, Bernie's gonna have he's gonna have an impact. Like, you're gonna come close, go to convention, maybe broker, but like it's got to be something here after all this friggin' work. And it wasn't even close. He got blown out the water, quite frankly. Bernie really embarrassed like everybody. I think that supported him in
2016 or 2020.
This 2020. I think 2016 had a bigger impact.
In 2020, he was doing well in the primaries, but early on they knew that. if everyone stayed in the primaries, he would have had a better chance. So everyone started dropping out. What's interesting to me is if you look at Biden and Harris
They set
the primaries, they didn't have a lot of support. It's only when everyone else dropped out and fell in line that they were able to prop them up. I mean,
they clearly timed that.
Criticize Bernie, like Bernie Sanders had the most diverse, multiracial, just I don't want to say like multicultural and like age diverse coalition in this country's history, and they just were like, no, we're not interested. We're not interested. We're not interested at all. And they would rather extend an invite to the 51% of white women that voted for Trump than the base that had been built over the past 4 years.
Well, and you can see by that base and by the enthusiasm and excitement of the people who came out to hear Bernie, that there is a hunger out there for different kind of politics. And during or because of the pandemic and after the pandemic, it's even worse. And people understand even better now how much needs to change. And so the desire for change is even greater. But on the desire to change on the part of the people and younger folks, we have the Young Eco-Socialists Caucus now has 50 members in it, and it started out a few months ago. And the amount of passion on the part of people who haven't yet have developed a loyalty to the Democrats or Republicans, it's astonishing, and it's what we all need to build off. But when the establishment parties throw roadblocks in people's way, somebody's got to be there to say, it's not being a purist to want to vote for what you believe in. It's just not. We can create a better world, but we can't keep giving up on it.
Let me ask you, Madelyn.
Yeah.
I know you do a lot of work around immigrants' rights in New Jersey. You want to abolish ICE, which I think is excellent. What if elected? What commitments could you make to immigrants coming into the United States? Like, if you had that power of the bully pulpit, if you had that access, what commitments could you make to the immigrant population?
First of all, there would be no border wall. Second of all, there would be no travel bans. Thirdly, there would be no families broken up at the border. I think that we need to have an understanding, especially when we look at Canada, the United States, Central and South America. We are all America, really. But if you go back in history, there's one group of Norte Americanos who divided it up and decided this is our playground, and Central and South America is our backyard. It's not. We're all. So if we could acknowledge that and create policies that have that in mind, that would take away the barriers and then stop. I mean, this was something we asked of a fellow from Colombia many years ago with my other job. What about the people crossing the border, we say, because there's been an issue with this for quite a while. And he said, well, as soon as you make it illegal for the big corporate box stores to pick themselves up from North America and build in Mexico and other places in Central and South America, as soon as you make that illegal and you allow for the local economies to sustain themselves, then we can talk about people coming across the border. Because people come across the border not because they want to. Yeah. Nobody really wants to leave their home. They leave because they feel they've got to economically. So we need to address this whole, North Canada, U.S., Central South America as one whole region.
Well, looking at how overthrowing democratically elected governments in Latin America is a bipartisan issue, right? Whether it's 2009 with Obama and Hillary Clinton or 2019 with Donald Trump. I'm sorry, Obama and Clinton in Honduras, and then Donald Trump in Bolivia. How would the Green Party work to repair the United States relationship with Latin America?
I think it would take a long time to repair it. But
Yeah.
first thing is looking at Colombia, for example. I've spent a lot of time in Colombia over the last year, and there are 7 U.S. military bases in Colombia. So those would have to be shut down. There have been assassinations of social and community and environmental leaders since the peace accords were signed in 2016, which were supposed to help to build peace, make reparations for those who had been displaced within Colombia, provide an alternate crop to what's coca, and to do these things to help Colombia in order to have peace, there would needed to be economic and social justice as well as peace. And that's not happening. And the U.S. government is supporting Duque in Colombia. Just the other day now, Uribe got told by the Supreme Court of Colombia, put him in jail, house detention, because of how he had tampered with witnesses and used the drug trade and other things to repress Colombian people. The United States has to. I would advocate for the U.S. not to support people like Duque. I would ask for any aid that came to Colombia. It could not be given to Colombia as long as the government and military were assassinating social leader. The number is over 800 since the signing of the peace accords, and a lot are indigenous. You mentioned Bolivia.
Yeah.
The indigenous populations throughout Latin America are the ones bearing the brunt. And the other thing I would do is stop trying to overthrow Maduro in Venezuela. I'd stop saying,
Are they still trying?
Actually, it came out a couple of weeks ago that Trump basically lost faith. The thing is with Trump, you don't know what he's doing from day to day, but the narrative
medication he's on that morning.
He kind of lost faith in Guaido. Like Guaido is kind of poof. So he wanted to work. So basically,
he just figured that out.
He said he would work with Maduro, and then like the next day he went on Twitter. No, that's not what I mean. That's not what I mean.
Yeah, because his advisors probably didn't like it. The Elliott Abrams and the others who've had their mitts on Latin America forever. But you don't. I mean, I would stop.
Was a shit show from day one. From the minute that dumbass got in front of a bunch of military dudes that had no idea what was going on. Like somebody woke these poor guys up in the morning. It was like, "Hey, dude, there's some guys out there with cameras. Go stand by him." They're like, what? Yeah, all right. He's the president. He's what? No, that ain't the president. Whatever. Stand there. All right, sure.
I mean, he's another one complaining about oppression, complaining about dictatorship. And a couple months ago, I was on the program and I said, look, they had pictures of him coming into the airport in Caracas, unbothered, Guaido, doing whatever he wants, not being harassed. There's no left-wing mobs. There's no red guards chasing him around. He has so much freedom, it's almost laughable, right? He's just running around like a marauder, doing all kinds of damage within Venezuela and outside. And look, you could be Kamala Harris, you could be Fidel Castro. They're going to call you a communist no matter what.
In any authoritarian regime, he would be locked up in a cesspool prison.
Yeah, he'd be disappeared. He'd be gone. He wouldn't hear about it.
And he really is running around with quite a bit of political freedom, given some pretty extreme. I mean, this guy has been accused of, and maybe Madelyn, you can give us a little of what he's been proven to be involved with. But he's been involved with extreme right-wing groups that commit political assassinations and things of this nature. I mean,
the entire
I'm laughing, but the guy is no joke when it comes to,
You do not become the U.S.'s guy in Latin America unless you have blood on your hands or you're willing to commit atrocities. period.
Well, the thing that I will never get out of my head is that image from the State of the Union earlier this year, when Guaido was invited to the State of the Union address by Donald Trump's, and both sides of the political aisle, Democrats and Republicans, stood up, gave him a standing ovation, clapped for him. It shows you where people stand on this. And then the other day, Representative Chris Murphy, Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut, one who's supposed to be concerned about, I don't know, a little more concerned about war and peace issues, goes on about how Trump mishandled it. He didn't do it. He wasn't strong-armed enough. He didn't put up. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I gotta say this. I'm showing my age, right? But I remember one of the things that radicalized me in 2004 is, there's this massive anti-war movement. George W. Bush we thought the worst there could be. And there's people marching and there's celebrities and massive anti-war movement and John Kerry. I'm not anti-war. I'm going to run the war better than Bush. What? That's when for me, I'm that's when it hit me that, wow, they just don't care. Like John Kerry was uninspiring. Remember when he showed up on the motorcycle, trying to look all edgy and cool, and he looked like the second coming of Michael Dukakis trying too hard.
Oh, it was gosh. Yeah. I mean,
they don't care. They don't care.
So the commitment to the military-industrial complex is one of the things that's bringing the United States down and down and down further. During a pandemic, what does the United States do? Instead of relieve some of the sanctions, we increase the sanctions. Venezuela, Nicaragua, Cuba, African countries, Syria, all around the world. So, the sanctions, or as they're now known as unilateral coercive economic measures, because it's not gone through the United Nations. It's just the United States deciding, sorry, we don't like you. Stop,
coalition of the willing.
What's that?
I said it's the coalition of the willing all over again.
Yeah, we'll just shut you down. We'll shut down your economy. And then, I mean, this is the most recent example. As a director of a nonprofit peace organization, for the last 10 years of that time, we were calling for a 25% reduction in the military budget. As a candidate for U.S. Senate, I'm calling for a 50% reduction of the military budget. Others calling for 75%. Howie Hawkins' campaign, 75% reduction in the military budget. What was brought before the House of Representatives and the Senate maybe 2 weeks ago? A 10% cut in the military budget. Only 23 senators voted in favor of it, and only 93 members of the House of Representatives voted in favor of it. Less than 20% of the folks that represent us, and not all the Democrats stood up for it. So we're 10%. We can't even, people can't even support that cut.
The politics of low expectations.
I suppose, or Dwight D. Eisenhower was no radical, that's for sure, but he warned us about the military-industrial complex many, many, many moons ago in the early 1960s. And if we want to combat climate change, if we want to have money for single-payer healthcare, if we want tuition-free college, if we want forgiveness of student debt, if we want an end to evictions, cancellation of rents and mortgages, all of that stuff, we know where the money is. But
I said we have the money. We've shown repeatedly that we have the money, that the money's there. We just never want to spend it on what's important. More money, more subsidies, more tax breaks. And then teachers have to go back to school, with masks on.
Yeah. I appreciate it. I know that we have more to talk about. I think we got through most of the stuff that we needed to talk about, though. And I know Madelyn is tired because she, like everybody else, not just campaigners, but activists like have overbooked themselves and overworked themselves and needs to get to bed all the time, basically. So,
No, actually, I have a Spanish class tonight.
oh my! Listen to you. Like it's just
Yeah,
a crazy. We all do it. We all do it. So make sure you take care of yourself. I appreciate it, and I know you need volunteers and donations like everybody else. So please let our audiences know out there in the world how they can help the Hoffman for Senate campaign here in New Jersey.
Thanks for reminding me of Brian.
No problem.
So caught up in the conversation, I forgot. Okay, my website is hoffmanforsenate.com, all lowercase, hoffmanforsenate.com. My Facebook page is Hoffman for Senate 2020. All those words are separate. Hoffman, the word for Senate 2020. If you want to make a donation, you can go to my website and do it. So it's hoffmanforsenate.com/donate. If you want to go to my website and volunteer, it's hoffmanforsenate/volunteer, hoffmanforsenate.com/volunteer. Those are the places where you can go to get more information. We really want to blanket the state between now and Election Day with this message that there is an alternative to the two parties that is willing to take on the big money and the military-industrial complex. So please, we need money to get the message out, to print up materials, to get more people involved. And thank you guys. I guess there is more to talk about, but we're hitting the top of the hour, right?
There always is, but we'll have you on again. There's still 3 something months left in the campaign, and you got a lot going on. I know, so we'll definitely be checking back in during the campaign. Thanks a lot for your time, Christian. What you up to, man? I think you're going to be back here a little more frequently.
I'll come back whenever you have me. You can find me on Twitter at Perez Podcast. You can find me on Facebook, Christian Perez, on Facebook, Modernity and Absurdity. Available iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, wherever you can pretty much get the podcasts.
Yeah, it's been a great show. I love working with you guys, and I love seeing what's going on with the campaign and everything. Make sure you donate out there. I want to make sure that everybody gives a few dollars to New Jersey Revolution Radio as well. These streams are great, and I really enjoy being on the different platforms. But that costs $50 a month, and that's $600 a year, and that's not a small chunk of change for a revolutionary organization. And I wanted to talk a little bit I know most of our audience and I know most of the groups that support us, and they don't have a lot of money. But the truth is, it costs like $300 to get out to a protest, film it, edit it, and get some production work out there. And none of the groups we work with have that much money. None of them at all. So what we really need is, and when I go to these events, I want to thank the Badass Teachers Association, NJ21 United. I went there, they threw around the hat, they gave us what they could, but it is a bit to get out there and do this work. And what we can do is if you contribute on a monthly basis or you give a contribution, that supplements that. So they don't have to come up with $300 just to get us to a protest, to cover it, film it, and get some content out there so that the wider world can find out about what they're trying to cry out for. And in that case, it was safety in public schools, something we talked about at the very beginning of the protest. So your contributions matter. They matter not just in New Jersey Revolution Radio, but, to the activist organizations around us that count us for some media exposure. So we appreciate those donations. If you haven't given yet, www.njrevolutionradio.com. And until next week, I'm going to be back reporting again. I'm going to have some young greens on. So we're going on a bit of a green streak here, everybody. We're going to have some young greens on. I believe we're going to have some local hip-hop music debuting here on New Jersey Revolution Radio. Not debuting, but debuting here on New Jersey Revolution Radio as well. So I've already got a show lined up for next week. I don't know who my co-host is going to be yet. Daryl, feel better. Christian, I know I know we got a bunch of pinch hitters on board, so we'll figure that part out. Until then, until next week at 8 p.m., I will remind everybody that the police can quit their jobs. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye-bye.